What if we told you that behind the glamour and fame, some of Hollywood's most iconic women were living love stories the world never saw coming? From secret romances to surprise weddings, these 25 Black lesbian stars have stories that'll make you smile, cheer, and maybe even tear up a little. Drop a comment if someone on this list surprises you, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because trust us, you're going to want more stories like these. For years, Queen Latifah reigned as one of the most iconic women in hip-hop in Hollywood, breaking barriers with every step she took. But while the world admired her fierce talent and undeniable charisma, her personal life remained a mystery. Rumors swirled, whispers followed, but Latifah stayed silent until 2021. On stage at the BET Awards, with millions watching, she finally said it. "Ebony, my love." It was just a few words, but they echoed like a roar. After decades of silence, Queen Latifah publicly acknowledged her longtime partner, Ebony Nichols, a dancer and choreographer who had been by her side since 2013. Their love had always existed in the quiet spaces, red carpets, shared glances, silent strength. And though Latifah had fiercely protected her privacy, the moment came when pride beat fear. She didn't just come out, she claimed joy. In a world that often demands labels, she chose love. Today, Queen Latifah continues to inspire, not just through her art, but by showing that being true to yourself is the most powerful role you'll ever play. From the moment she charmed audiences on The Cosby Show and later starred in That's So Raven, Raven-Symoné was a household name. But while she made millions laugh, her journey behind the scenes was far more personal and powerful. For years, Raven kept her identity private. Though she knew she was attracted to women, she didn't feel the need or the safety to come out publicly. That changed in 2013, when she tweeted her joy that same-sex marriage was finally becoming legal. It was a subtle but clear signal to the world. Raven was ready to live her truth. By 2020, she took everyone by surprise when she quietly married Amandla Stenberg, a social media manager. The two tied the knot in an intimate backyard ceremony, and Raven announced the news with a heartfelt post. Fans who had grown up with her were moved to see their childhood star embracing love so openly. Raven later explained that she had always been herself, but now she was choosing to live publicly, unapologetically. In marrying Amandla, she wasn't just declaring her love, she was reclaiming her story. Janelle Monáe is more than a singer or actress, she's a movement. With her bold style, fearless creativity, and soul-stirring performances in films like Moonlight and Hidden Figures, Janelle captured the world's attention. But in 2018, she opened up like never before. In an interview with Rolling Stone, Janelle revealed she identified as pansexual. She'd previously called herself bisexual, but pansexuality, being attracted to people regardless of gender, felt like the most honest reflection of who she was. While Janelle never confirmed her rumored relationship with actress Tessa Thompson, their deep connection was undeniable. They collaborated artistically, appeared in intimate music videos together, and supported one another proudly. Janelle has always emphasized the importance of living authentically and challenging norms, especially as a Black queer artist in a world that often demands conformity. Through her music, her message, and her unapologetic presence, Janelle Monáe shows that identity isn't about fitting into a box. It's about owning every beautiful part of who you are. Dominique Jackson doesn't just walk into a room, she owns it. Best known for her role as Electra Abundance in the groundbreaking series Pose, Dominique brought unapologetic power, grace, and vulnerability to a character that quickly became iconic. But her real-life story is just as powerful. Born in Tobago and raised in a strict religious environment, Dominique faced rejection, abuse, and homelessness after coming out as transgender and lesbian. But she refused to let the world define her. Through years of struggle, she found community in New York's ballroom scene, where chosen families lifted her up, and where she learned to stand tall in 6-inch heels and her truth. Dominique later became a model, actress, and fierce advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, especially for queer people of color. Openly lesbian and once married to a supportive partner, she has always embraced her identity without apology. Whether strutting on a runway or standing at a podium, Dominique isn't just telling her story, she's demanding space for others to tell theirs too. Lena Waithe doesn't just tell stories, she lives them. As a writer, producer, and actress, Lena made history as the first Black woman to win an Emmy for comedy writing, thanks to her groundbreaking Master of None episode, Thanksgiving. That story, based on Lena's own coming-out experience, struck a chord around the world. But her activism goes beyond the screen. Lena is unapologetically lesbian and uses her voice to fight for better representation of queer Black lives in Hollywood. She came out early in her career, determined to live openly and proudly. Through her hit series, The Chai, and her work behind the scenes, Lena champions characters and creators who often go unheard. She knows the power of seeing yourself on screen and the cost of invisibility. Lena often says that visibility is a form of activism, and by simply showing up as herself, in a fitted suit, fade tight, and swag unapologetic, she's helping redefine what queer Black excellence looks like. Lena isn't just making room for herself, she's building space for everyone. Before she became one of comedy's sharpest voices, Wanda Sykes kept one part of her life fiercely private, until 2008, when she stunned fans by coming out during a rally in Las Vegas. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a press release. It was a moment of courage sparked by conviction. She told the crowd she was married to a woman, Alex Niedbalski, whom she had met 2 years earlier on a ferry ride. Wanda's decision to come out publicly was deeply personal. For years, she had kept her private life to herself, not out of shame, but for protection. But love gave her the strength to be visible. She and Alex married in 2008, and a year later, they welcomed twins, Olivia and Lucas. Today, Wanda uses her platform to advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, often blending humor with truth in the way only she can. Her voice reminds us that sometimes the boldest thing you can do is simply be yourself, and make people laugh while you're at it. With a filmography as powerful as her presence, Tessa Thompson has never shied away from challenging norms, on screen or in real life. In 2018, she made headlines not for a role, but for revealing a truth close to her heart. While she never officially confirmed a relationship with singer Janelle Monáe, the bond between them became a beacon for queer fans everywhere. From attending red carpets together to starring in Janelle's music video Dirty Computer, their closeness sparked hope and visibility. Tessa shared that her family's support gave her the courage to be open. She never felt the need to label her love publicly, but she also didn't want to hide it. For her, it wasn't about making a grand statement. It was about normalizing what should already be normal, love in all its forms. In choosing to live authentically while still guarding her privacy, Tessa shows that there's no single way to come out. There's just your way. And hers is strong, graceful, and unapologetically free. In the world of morning television, Robin Roberts stood as a beacon of trust and resilience. But it wasn't until 2013 that she shared one of her most personal stories, with quiet strength and heartfelt grace. In a heartfelt Facebook post, Robin came out as a lesbian and introduced the world to her partner, Amber Lane, a massage therapist she'd been with since 2005. It wasn't a spotlight moment. It was a thank you directed to the woman who stood by her during her battle with cancer. Robin had known her truth since 2003, but kept her personal life private, not out of fear, but out of respect for her boundaries. That changed when she realized her story could give others hope. Her relationship with Amber is built on trust, quiet love, and unwavering support. And while they don't share every detail with the public, their bond speaks volumes. Robin reminds us that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones lived honestly, with grace, and in the arms of someone who never lets go. Their breakout role as Rue introduced them to the world, but it's Amandla Stenberg's unwavering honesty about identity and queerness that's made them a true voice of their generation. Amandla came out as bisexual in 2016 and later identified as non-binary and queer, using they, them pronouns. For Amandla, identity isn't a box, it's a spectrum. They've embraced every part of themselves with honesty and vulnerability, inspiring young fans to do the same. One of their most talked about relationships was with singer King Princess. Though their romance eventually ended, it became a beautiful example of queer love in the spotlight, tender, supportive, and authentic. Amandla has always used their platform to speak out on gender, race, and LGBTQ+ rights, unafraid to challenge the status quo. Their courage isn't just about who they love, it's about how they live. In a world that often pressures people to conform, Amandla dares to expand the definition of what it means to be human. And in doing so, they're changing the world, one truth at a time. Few life stories are as raw and redemptive as Felicia Pearson's. Long before she became Snoop on The Wire, she was navigating a world of violence, survival, and eventually, self-acceptance. Born into chaos, raised in the streets of Baltimore, and sentenced to prison for second-degree murder at just 14, her early years were defined by hardship. But Felicia refused to let her past write her future. Behind bars, she began reflecting, healing, and embracing her identity as a lesbian, a truth she once feared in a world that showed little mercy. After her release, Felicia got her big break when she was cast in The Wire, not as an actress with training, but as a survivor with a story. Her gritty performance made her a breakout star, and her authenticity struck a chord. Felicia has since spoken openly about her sexuality and the difficulties of being gay in both the street and the spotlight. She's used her voice to advocate for others like her, those who've been silenced, ignored, or overlooked. Felicia's life is proof that redemption is real, and being queer is not a weakness, it's power. Long before she became a fan favorite on Orange is the New Black, Samira Wiley was quietly finding her voice, not just as an actress, but as a proud lesbian woman. Her love story began behind the scenes of the very show that made her famous. Lauren Morelli, a writer on OITNB, was married to a man when she started working on the series. But as she wrote stories for queer characters, she started recognizing her own truth. Eventually, Lauren ended her marriage and fell in love with Samira. At first, they kept their relationship private, building a quiet foundation rooted in trust and growth. In 2017, they tied the knot in a beautiful ceremony full of laughter and light. Samira once said that Lauren helped her find herself, and together, they've helped others do the same. Their relationship is more than romantic, it's revolutionary, proving that love blooms in the most unexpected places. And sometimes the script you're writing ends up writing you right back. For most of her career, Brat was a mystery. With baggy jeans, big energy, and fierce rhymes, she broke into hip-hop's boys' club in the 90s and never looked back. But while her music was loud, her personal life was quiet, especially her sexuality. It wasn't until 2020, decades into her career, that Brat came out publicly as a lesbian, sharing her love for entrepreneur Jasika Nicole with the world. The announcement wasn't just about a relationship, it was a declaration of freedom. Brat revealed that fear had kept her in the closet, especially in an industry that rarely embraced queer voices. But Jasika made her feel seen, safe, and ready. Their love blossomed in the spotlight, and in 2022, they got married in a stunning ceremony filled with joy and unapologetic Black queer love. For Brat, it wasn't about hiding anymore, it was about living and loving out loud. Defining Angel Haze by a single label is impossible. And that's exactly the point. As a rapper and artist, Angel has built their career on defying boxes, and that extends to their identity. They identify as pansexual and agender, meaning their attraction isn't limited by gender, and they don't align with the traditional male-female binary. Their music is raw, emotional, and fiercely personal, mirroring the way they live. In 2014, Angel's relationship with model Ireland Baldwin turned heads. But what stood out wasn't just the romance, it was how openly and confidently they loved in a world still catching up. Angel has often spoken out against the media's obsession with labeling, reminding everyone that love is a feeling, not a formula. Their fearlessness has helped redefine what queerness can look like in hip-hop, pushing past stereotypes and into something beautifully real. Angel's truth isn't about acceptance, it's about revolution. Growing up in East London with Nigerian immigrant parents, Gina Yashere knew early on that she was different, and not just because of her sense of humor. Her journey to self-acceptance was steeped in cultural expectations and silence, especially around sexuality. But Gina wasn't made to stay quiet. She came out as a lesbian and built a comedy career that celebrated her truth instead of hiding it. Her voice, bold, brash, and unapologetically Black, and queer, earned her fans on both sides of the Atlantic. From stand-up stages to co-creating the sitcom Bob Hart's Abishola, Gina brings her identity into everything she does. She's been in a long-term relationship with Nina Rose Fisher, a college professor, and often shares sweet glimpses of their life on social media. While Gina doesn't spill every detail, her pride shines through. In a world where many still struggle to speak their truth, Gina makes sure hers is heard, with laughter leading the way. There's something magnetic about Kiersey Clemons. Whether she's on screen in indie hits like Dope or stealing scenes in blockbuster films, her energy feels effortless. But beyond the acting, Kiersey has quietly become a voice for queer visibility in Hollywood. She identifies as queer, embracing love without boundaries or boxes, and often speaks about the freedom that comes with living your truth. Her relationship with stunt performer Ebony De La Haye has brought her both joy and grounding. The couple keeps things mostly low-key, but occasionally offers fans glimpses into their life together. Sweet, playful, and full of mutual admiration. Kiersey has said that being open about her identity isn't about being brave. It's just about being honest. She knows how much it matters to see someone like her on screen and off-screen too. Through both her work and her words, Kiersey reminds us that being queer isn't a side story, it's part of the main plot. Long before her name trended, Jessica Betts was doing what she loved, making music that spoke from the soul. But in 2020, her life changed forever when she married actress Niecy Nash in a surprise ceremony that sent shockwaves across Hollywood. Suddenly, Jessica wasn't just a soulful voice. She was part of a love story that shattered expectations and rewrote the rules. Jessica had been open about her sexuality for years, but kept her private life off the radar. That changed with Niecy. The two met as friends, but love came naturally, and when it did, it was undeniable. Their bond became a symbol of unexpected, unfiltered love. Jessica stood by Niecy not just as a partner, but as a force of joy and support. Their wedding wasn't just a celebration, it was a statement that love has no template, no boundaries, and no need for approval. With her guitar in hand and Niecy by her side, Jessica Betts sings not just of love, but of freedom. In the fashion world, where conformity often rules, AzMarie Livingston carved out a space that was entirely her own. With her androgynous beauty, bold tattoos, and powerful presence, she turned heads on America's Next Top Model, but never compromised who she was. Off the runway, AzMarie made headlines when she began dating Raven-Symoné, and together they became one of the most visible Black lesbian couples in Hollywood at the time. AzMarie has always been unapologetic about her identity. As a lesbian, she embraced her truth early and carried it with pride, especially in spaces that weren't always welcoming. Her look defies gender norms, and her confidence challenges outdated beauty standards. Beyond modeling, she's also made moves in music and acting, proving she's more than a pretty face. She's a powerhouse. While her relationship with Raven eventually ended, it left a mark. AzMarie remains a fierce symbol of authenticity, showing young queer people that you don't have to fit in to stand out. Tracy Chapman rarely seeks the spotlight, yet her voice has echoed through generations. Known for soul-stirring hits like Fast Car and Talkin' About a Revolution, Tracy has always let her music do the talking. But behind the scenes, she's lived as quietly and authentically as possible. In the mid-1990s, she was in a discreet yet meaningful relationship with author Alice Walker, best known for The Color Purple. While neither spoke publicly about their romance at the time, it later became a defining story for many in the queer Black community, proof that love could bloom even when the world wasn't ready for it. Tracy has never been loud about her sexuality, but her presence has always been powerful. Through lyrics that explore struggle, hope, and freedom, she's become a quiet champion for justice and a voice for the unheard. Tracy may not give many interviews, but with every note she sings, she reminds us what it means to live honestly, even in silence. Standing at 6'9", Brittney Griner is a towering figure in every sense of the word. As one of the most dominant players in WNBA history, she's shattered records and barriers. In 2013, Brittney came out as a lesbian just as she was being drafted first overall into the league. For many, it was a bold move, but for Brittney, it was just being real. She's been a fierce advocate for LGBTQ+ inclusion in sports, where queer athletes have often been forced to hide. Off the court, her personal life has been under intense scrutiny, especially following her legal troubles in Russia. But through every challenge, Brittney has stayed true to herself, fighting not just for her freedom, but for her right to love openly. Her marriage to Meshell Ndegeocello has been a source of strength and stability, especially during the most difficult times. Brittney doesn't just play for wins, she plays for visibility, for justice, and for every young queer person who dreams of standing tall. Visibility isn't just about being seen, it's about being known. And Jasika Nicole has quietly built a career where her identity as a proud lesbian woman is not just present, but powerful. Best known for her role as Astrid in Fringe, Jasika has always brought warmth, intelligence, and authenticity to her characters. But off-screen, her real-life love story might be even more beautiful than the ones she acts out. She's been married to her partner, artist Claire Savage, since 2013. Their relationship began long before Jasika rose to public fame, and it's built on years of trust, creativity, and shared values. Claire is a virtual reality artist, and Jasika often gushes about her wife's talent with quiet pride. Unlike many in Hollywood, Jasika doesn't overshare, but she doesn't hide either. She lives her truth in soft strength, reminding us that sometimes the most powerful form of representation isn't loud. It's simply being there, living fully and loving freely. Meshell Ndegeocello didn't just help shape Neo's soul, she gave it its voice. A bass-playing genre-bending icon, Meshell emerged in the 1990s as a fiercely original artist with something to say. She was also one of the first high-profile Black musicians to be openly lesbian, unafraid to express queer love in her lyrics long before it was considered marketable. Her music speaks to the complexities of identity, racial, sexual, spiritual, and her refusal to be boxed in made her a trailblazer. While others chased charts, Meshell chased truth. Her 1993 debut Plantation Lullabies shook the industry with its unapologetic honesty, and every album since has added another layer to her legacy. She's never chased the spotlight, but her work has earned it. Nominated for multiple Grammys and revered by generations of artists. In every note, Meshell carries her queerness not as a gimmick, but as a heartbeat. She didn't just open doors, she broke them down with bass lines and boldness. Poet, activist, truth-teller. Stacyann Chin is all of these, and more. Born in Jamaica and raised in hardship, she came out as a lesbian in a society that punished difference. But instead of hiding, she roared. Her spoken word performances are fiery, raw, and unforgettable, and she's used her voice to speak out on gender, race, and queerness for decades. In New York's slam poetry scene, she became a force of nature, unapologetically feminist, relentlessly intersectional, and always bold. Stacyann never asks for space. She takes it. Her work has been featured on Broadway and HBO, and her memoir, The Other Side of Paradise, details her harrowing yet empowering journey of survival and self-acceptance. She is also a single mom by choice, raising her daughter as fiercely as she lives her truth. In a world that still tries to silence queer Black women, Stacyann Chin reminds us, silence is not an option, and neither is shame. Audiences first met Rutina Wesley as Tara in True Blood. Tough, vulnerable, unforgettable. But it's off-screen where she's made an equally powerful impact. In 2017, Rutina shared her engagement to Chef Shonda, and while the relationship ultimately didn't last, the announcement marked a significant moment. She had never previously spoken publicly about her sexuality, and fans were stunned, in the best way. Rutina's decision to share that part of her life came with joy, not apology. She posted about her love openly and beautifully, writing, "I found the one whom my soul loves." It was a reminder that queerness isn't just about identity, it's about celebration. As the lead in Queen Sugar, Rutina has also embraced stories that reflect deep emotional truths, on-screen and off. She continues to be a source of pride for queer Black women navigating visibility in the spotlight. With quiet power, Rutina reminds us, your truth doesn't need approval to be beautiful. When Ariana DeBose danced across the screen in West Side Story, she didn't just steal scenes, she made history. In 2022, she became the first queer Afro-Latina to win an Oscar for acting, and she did it with style, grace, and a message. "I am an openly queer woman of color," she said on stage, "and I'm here." It was more than a thank you speech, it was a revolution in heels. Ariana first came out in 2015, and since then, she's used every spotlight to uplift her community. She's loud about her love for girlfriend Sue Maku, a costume designer, and equally passionate about creating space for queer youth in theater and film. Whether hosting award shows or starring in musicals, Ariana brings all of herself to the stage, never filtering her truth to fit the mold. She's proof that you don't have to shrink to succeed. In fact, you shine brightest when you let every part of yourself be seen. Not everyone turns pain into poetry, but Dee Rees did. As the acclaimed director behind Pariah and Mudbound, she's become one of Hollywood's most powerful queer black voices. But her path here wasn't easy. Growing up in Tennessee, Dee struggled with accepting her sexuality in a religious family that tried to pray it away. When she came out as a lesbian, her parents didn't embrace her. They pushed back, sending Bible verses instead of love. But Dee stood firm. She took that rejection and turned it into raw, beautiful storytelling. Pariah, her semi-autobiographical debut, told the story of a young black girl grappling with her identity, a story too rarely told, and even more rarely told by someone who lived it. The film became a landmark in queer cinema. In her personal life, Dee later found love and healing with writer Sarah M. Broom. The two married and built a life rooted in creativity and mutual respect. Dee Rees isn't just a director, she's a truth teller. And in telling her own, she's helped so many others find theirs. Now you've seen the faces, heard the stories, and felt the pride. These aren't just stars, they're legends living their truth on their own terms. If one of these women inspired you today, hit that like button, share the love in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed for more bold, beautiful voices.